Our agenda is the adoption of the draft 2024 Palmerston North Future Development Strategy for public consultation. I'll just invite Sam Dowse, one of our senior planners, and Rebecca Bell, consultant, who's been working on this. Over to you. Page 97 of your papers, councillors.
I'm just sensing some confusion from Leonie and William. I'm not sure that they can hear us.
Yes. Yep, got thumbs up.
Great. Well, kia ora koutou. My name is Sam Dowse, Senior Planner in the City Shaping team. Alongside me is Rebecca Bell from RFB Consulting, who's been working on the Future Development Strategy alongside the project team made up of Palmerston North City Council officers and Horizon City Council officers. We're pleased to bring you the draft Future Development Strategy and Statement of Proposal for adoption for public consultation today. This has been quite the journey to get us here, given this is our first Future Development Strategy. So before I hand back to you for questions, Mr. Chair, I'd just like to thank the project team who've done an enormous amount of work and offered tremendous support throughout this project. I'd also like to thank our Crown agency partners and infrastructure providers too for their input. In the interest of time, we'll take the report and the attachments as read, and I'll hand back to you for questions, Mr. Chair.
Great, thank you. And I suppose having been involved in it at quite a reasonable level, I sort of got a good understanding of it. But it would be fair to say that probably the key approaches have been around growing up, growing in, growing out in a sustainable way, and also the sort of village plans or village growth as well. Would that be true?
Yes, that's correct. Sorry, that was remiss of me not to take you through the approach. The strategy sets out that it will be a balanced approach to growth across the next 30 years, but in sort of that short to medium term period, we'll be focusing on development of our existing plan-enabled greenfield areas and the existing urban environment.
And it really does incorporate a lot of the plans that already exist with us or exist with Horizons as well?
Yes, that's correct.
Okay. All right. Okay. Councillor Barrett.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Thank you, Sam and Rebecca, for the work. Just wanted to understand to what extent the broad financial implications of those three strategies have been modeled and or communicated through this process.
What we've done with displaying the growth areas in the strategy is sort of packaged up the long-term plan funding decisions that have been made to support growth, but as part of the sort of more deeper plan change work that comes underneath that, in the investigation phase, we do a lot of costing. Yeah.
Thanks. I guess what I'm trying to understand is kind of at a way that we could package up for the community. Is there kind of a way to say if we provide 100 dwellings via in, it costs this much. If we do 100 dwellings via up, it costs this much. If we do 100 dwellings via out, it costs this much. And how much that cost sits with the person driving that development or living in that dwelling versus the broader community?
Yeah, we could certainly quantify that and make those changes through and sort of express that through the consultation document we go out with, if that's your preference.
And would that need anything more than a question being asked and answered here in terms of setting that in motion?
I'm not sure of that answer. I'll just get Jono, City Planning Manager, sorry.
I think in the recommendation, Councillor, there's an ability to make some minor changes to the document, so we can always go and make those changes and then run that through the chair of the steering group.
Great, thank you.
There are no other questions. We'll look to thank you. So you've been let off now. Councillors, we have three recommendations there to council that council adopt. Well, first of all, before I do that, our partners in this Horizons, have they is this gone to them as well?
This goes up to them on the 20th of March.
Right.
Yes. yeah.
Okay, great, thank you. All right, little bit of chicken and egg there, but we have the three recommendations to council. The council adopt the draft 2024 Palmerston North Future Development Strategy, attachment 1 for public consultation. 2, that council authorise Mayor as chairperson of the strategy steering joint steering group and chairperson of Horizons Regional Council to make minor amendments to the draft Palmerston North Future Development Strategy prior to public consultation, that council adopt the draft 2024 Future Development Strategy Statement of Proposal attachment 2 for public consultation. I'm happy to move that, seconded by the Deputy Mayor. Councillors, this is really pulling together all our plans. Just want to acknowledge the steering group and members of council that were on that, and I think page 103 gives quite a good overview of how strategically placed the city is for growth in terms of our opportunities around growing in, growing up, growing out sustainably, really trying to plan for our villages as well. We're fortunate in having the likes of Ashurst, Linton, Bunnythorpe and Longburn, all with their different characteristics, but they all feed into the city at the same time. This gives us some basis around land for housing, also for commercial and business use, but also understanding our natural boundaries, confinements as well. So just want to acknowledge the officers. There's nothing really new here in the sense that we've pulled everything together, and it's probably a more concise document for us to present to not only in a public sense, but for any commercial development as well. I'll go to anybody else that wants to speak. Councillor Barrett.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. And just to briefly comment on two matters. The first is to express appreciation to the team that's been working on this. Last time it came to council, I had some concerns around the wording of the growing in, which at that stage had quite a generic statement about underutilized, quote unquote, green space within the city. And what I can see in this revised draft is that it's now tightened that up considerably. It's identified Summerhays and Huia Street and drawn the line there, and I think that's a much more comfortable position to go into a public conversation with, rather than something that could have been read to be quite open-ended and would have been quite concerning for some if Waterloo Reserve is anything to go by. The second that I would say is that it would be very helpful when we get this out to the public. I think a way for the public to be able to relate some of all what we talk about here in these terms to kind of what it's going to mean from a financial strategy point of view. And so, you know, what I've suggested here, would love to see it incorporated through the minor amendments approach, but, you know, just kind of a range of costs. So just to give people a sense of what it means if we grow in or out or up for, say, 100 dwellings, there would be a range of costs that we might be able to signal to the community so they could understand that there is a connection between how we choose to grow and what that growth will cost in terms of public investment requirements. So those are just the two comments, and look forward to seeing community feedback on this. I concur with your views that it's been a good piece of work that has pulled together in a very presentable way of a quite wide range of activities that council's undertaking in the development space.
Good. All right, councillors, we have the three, there's nobody else wanting to speak, so we've got the three recommendations in front of us. I'll ask you to vote, please. That is passed, 14 votes for and none against. Thank you. All right. I'll ask David Murphy to come down the CEDA Director paper. That's on page 297 of your papers, councillors.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Good afternoon, councillors. I'll take the paper as read, but just very briefly, or maybe not as read then. There was an earlier report, as you'll recall, which was on the order paper for the February council meeting. Probably after that was authorised, there was a bit more self-reflection, conversations with MDC, the CEDA chair, about the composition of the CEDA board. You'll recall there were some changes made to the directors' policy that reduced the number of directors, or provided the option for both councils or shareholders to reduce the number of directors. I just make the point that at the moment, CEDA has an FTE of about, depending on various things, between sort of 13 and 14 full-time FTEs, with currently 6 directors. So if you adopted the recommended option, the current director who's up for renewal would be extended through to December, at which point we would advertise with MDC for 2 directors, not 4. And in December there would be, if we extend the current director through to December, there would actually be 4 positions that are up for renewal at that time. But if we were to advertise 2, it would be more fair for those 4 who are up for renewal during the course of the year to then decide whether or not they wanted to apply for the 2 positions, assuming you accepted the recommendations. Happy to answer any questions.
Thank you, David. Councillor Naylor.
Yeah, thanks, David. I'm just trying to understand the rationale in the timeline that's on figure 1 on page 299. If the end result by December is a membership of 4, and we've got 6 now, why would it make more sense to have 5 between now and then as a step change down gradually, rather than keep retaining 6 and then dropping to 4?
It's, you have the option to drop to 5 now if you decided to, and obviously we need to align any decision as best as we can with MDC, or we need to align any decision with MDC. The issue with doing that is ultimately the current director who's up for whose placements are up for review would be disincentivised or unable to put their name forward for reappointment, whereas it would potentially be a fairer process if we had, because we've got 3 directors who are up for renewal in December, plus this one now. So if we dropped to 4 directors in December, then the 4 who are up for renewal this year could equally put their name forward for the 2 positions. Whereas if we drop to 5 now, the current director would be disincentivised potentially for putting their name forward later in the year.
Thank you. So I had read that in an option, under the option 3 details on page 300, but there's a little bit of a discrepancy, and I'm really trying to understand. Under the option 3 and 4.3, it says that the chair was concerned that the incumbent cannot be reappointed, but then under in next steps under 5.3, it says that should they wish to apply, they will be able to so later in the year. So it's kind of, we're being told 2 different things there. So can they reapply in December, or if not, why is the view that they would be discouraged somehow from doing so?
Well, I think if you drop to 5 now, then they'd be unable to apply because there wouldn't be a vacancy. If you drop to 5 now, they could reapply for one of the vacancies in December, but there's a risk that the person would be, I guess, potentially discouraged from reapplying, given that, because of the way the rotation works, when if we were deciding to drop the number of directors, because they happen to be the first cab off the rank, then they were the first to go.
Okay, so just to double check, so option 3 would be following our policy? Is that correct? Because option 1 says that it would be outside of our policy.
Well, it would be outside of the policy, in that you'd be, the policy does provide for extensions of directors in particular circumstances.
So would following our policy equate to what's outlined in option 3?
I'm just agreeing.
Yeah.
So option 2 or 3 would be following the strictly following the policy.
Okay, and so option 2 or 3. Okay, that's helpful. Thank you.
Councillor Zabellan.
Thanks, Mr. Mayor. Thanks, David. I'm just
wanting some clarity as well about the distinction between renewals and reapplications. If we're advertising for positions in December, are we inviting renewals of terms or just blank reapplications for these positions?
Aroha mai, that was probably sloppy language on my behalf. It's not a renewal, it's advertised and people make a decision as to whether or not they want to apply or not.
Cool, thank you, that's helpful.
All right. Thank you, David. Look, we've got two recommendations there. The council agree to extend Marie's term to 17 December 24, option 1, noting the reason for the deviation from the policy being this enables for a single fair appointment process in 2024. The council officers will advertise 2 directors' positions in mid-2024 to be appointed by 18th of December 2024. I'm happy to move that, seconded by Deputy Mayor. Councillors, in talking to the board chair, but also to our partners in this, MDC, we just wanted to give a fair process to everybody that is currently there. It's evident now that the organisation doesn't need to have 6 directors, which the officers have outlined in their report. And the organisation is running very well, and they believe that they can govern with four directors now. That's great for us because it means the money that is allocated to CEDA actually goes on the work that they do, rather than just that portion going into governance. So this is where MDC, our partners, are heading. We've discussed that with them in the background, and I think it's again that fair and reasonable. Yes, it doesn't strictly follow the policy, but it's not a huge deviation away from it either because it's from now to December. So I hope you support it. Councillor Naylor.
Yeah, thanks, Mr Mayor. In reading through the paper, I certainly had a preference for option 3, so I won't support option 1. Aside from the fact that it is a deviation from our policy, I don't think the reasons justify in the papers or what we've heard today justify a deviation from the policy. And in my mind, I think it is fairer to follow the policy, and the member whose term is about to expire can be reapply in December if she wishes. So I think also if we are agreeing that we're moving, if supporting a move to 4 directors by December, it makes sense to me that does happen in a step change way. If it's 6 now, then 5 for the rest of the year, then 4. That just seems better logic to me in terms of that transition. If they've decided that they can govern with 4, then I don't see why they can't govern with 5 between now and then. Also, there is a financial savings, which is an additional bonus to that. But primarily my reason is around the logic of, in principle, wanting to follow the policy. Too often we have papers come where we want to go have a deviation to the policy. And where there's a really justified reason, I would support that. But I don't see a strong enough case to deviate from the policy outlined in this paper. So if this vote fails, happy to support option 3, and Councillor Zabelin has indicated she would be happy to second that.
Councillor Harper online.
Sorry about that. Very happy to support this. If the chair of the board and the MDC are advocating for this, I think that's really what we should be advocating for as well. I think at the end of the day, it's a very good and going well board, and it's quite nice when you've got board members that are working well. And if you don't have to go through a selection process at this time because everything is working well, then that would actually be quite good for CEDA. So I'm really happy to support the recommendation that's been put forward by the Mayor. Thank you.
All right, councillors, look, just very quickly, it's what we're trying to do here is give a fair process. It's nothing. It's not really about policy, and I wouldn't get hung up on the policy. If you did go down option 3, we'd have an issue, I believe, with not only our partners, MDC, possibly even the board, and we would be disincentivising one of the directors unfairly because they come off a rotation effectively 6 months before the others. So it's not a huge deviation away from the policy. So I ask you to support it. We will vote. And that has passed 12 votes for and 3 against. Thank you. All right. We're now at number 10 in the papers, and this is around international travel opportunity for the Deputy Mayor. And there is a paper from Hannah. I'll take that as being read. We've got Donna's name next to that as well. But I suspect if there are any questions that between officers and perhaps the Deputy Mayor herself may be able to answer. It's on page 303 of your papers through to 308, which includes the draft school delegation to China with various schools and itinerary, etc., and the MOU, cooperation or MOU with Hefei, the city of Hefei. So we have Councillor Harper online. Oh, sorry, Councillor Wood.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Just questions from me. Just firstly, want to ask about this trip. Has a mayor or deputy mayor gone on this trip before? Would this be a first?
We're just getting some people up, Councillor.
Through the chair, to the best of my knowledge, this is the very first time that councillors or the mayor or the deputy mayor is approached to participate in this particular trip organized by this particular company and to these particular destinations.
Thank you for that. And so who's paying for the rest of the deputy mayor's costs, given I assume $400 won't get her all the way there and cover accommodation? Is it PMBHS or somebody else?
My understanding is that the company has organized for participating schools to contribute to the amount of $650 per school to cover the cost of the deputy mayor's participation in this trip.
All right. And so I guess my final question then is the deputy mayor invited to this trip by virtue of being the deputy mayor or by virtue of being an educator? And yeah, where did the invitation come from? Is it more to do with her role at a school, or is it more to do with her role as the deputy mayor?
Kia ora, Mr. Chair, and also councillors. Last year, I had stepped in for the mayor when a group had come from Hefei. I had shown them around the chambers, and Gabriel and someone else was with me as well. And then I went to Whakarongo School and, of course, at Boys High, and had met them there. Then there was an invitation offered there. I didn't really take too much notice of that. I just thought that was a very nice thing and left that. But probably about a month ago, the invitation came from the World Education business, and they had asked me if I would accompany them. And I believe more so in the capacity of deputy mayor. But with
Thank
a
you
background.
very much for the explanation. Yeah. Thank you.
Councillor Barrett.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. So just my understanding is this isn't a sister city? Is my understanding correct?
Sorry, could you,
My understanding is that this is not a sister city to Palmerston North. Is that correct?
it's not.
Just interested this cooperation agreement that does link us in some way. Do we have that with a number of cities around the world, or is this quite a unique situation?
No, actually, we are quite open to our public sectors coming to us, our various sectors coming to us and say, we would like to do specific cooperation with so-and-so city in so-and-so country. Would you be able to support that in form of an MOU? And we are quite open to be supportive of that. So the situation with Hefei was an MOU specifically on educational cooperation requested by our international education sector.
Can you tell us how many MOUs we have with different cities around the world?
At the moment, on top of my head, and please don't take this as official record, as I will have to go back and do a little bit more homework. But on top of my head, we do have MOU in education cooperation with Ho Chi Minh City in Vietnam, Hefei in China, and with at least 3 other cities in China who are very keen to work with us, but nothing in terms of a signed document so far with those 3 other cities.
Right, so less than 5 of these actually signed globally.
So that would be 2 official
great.
signed.
That's helpful. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
All right, thank you. Thank you, Deputy Mayor. Thank you, Gabrielle. Okay, look, we've got 2 recommendations there. I'm happy to move those around approving the account of the Deputy Mayor to travel to China between the 11th and the 25th of April and to join the World Class Education delegation to Hefei in China, and they agree to cover up a maximum of $400 around costs with that trip. I'll look for a seconder on that. Thank you, Councillor Barrett. Look, councillors, just if I could just add a couple of things. $400 cost to us. We have been getting students from Hefei, and it's we're starting to see more and more of that. And I think it's those that would have got the either the Dominion or the Manawatu Standard on Saturday would have seen the double-page spread around the international student market and what is happening there positively. So I think we're part of that story, and it's certainly starting to come back. I think the Deputy Mayor underrated herself as an educator. I think there is an element of being an educator there as well, and the attractiveness of being a Deputy Mayor and an educator and former principal going to the going with these people will actually add lots of benefits. So I'm happy to move that. There's, as I said, there's virtually no cost to the council, and there's only an upside for us. Councillor Barrett.
Thank you. Concur, and the line of questioning I was pursuing was really just trying to understand whether this might set a precedent that would trigger off dozens of these sorts of trips around the world in future. But, you know, if there's a couple key relationships that are developing, that are documented, I think that gives me some comfort that we're not kind of unleashing a genie here, but doing things quite strategically. So happy to support it.
What, the genie? All right. Okay, we'll put this to the vote. Thank you. That has passed, 14 votes for, none against. All right, we move on to number 11, is around remit proposals City Council for LGNZ, Local Government New Zealand's annual general meeting 2024, but I believe it needs to go to zone, so hence we are putting up some remits. So there is a couple of recommendations there, and there's a paper on page 309 and from Hannah and I'll take it as being read. It is around a remit around community services card, and I'll get Councillor Johnson to speak to that. And the other one is around advocation around Māori wards, I believe, and I'll get Councillor Fitzgerald to speak to that one. We'll deal with Councillor Johnson first. Over to you, Councillor.
Thanks, Mr Mayor. I'm really grateful actually to Councillor Bowen for doing the background work on this and suggesting it. And since she's not here today, I've inherited it in a way. So I don't want to claim all the credit. But basically what it is if you think back to when we were looking at who should get remission on parking, a suggestion was made that maybe we could use having a community services card as a kind of proxy for being in need of some free parking. And then when staff looked into it, it was discovered that, we're not actually able to use the community services card for that kind of purpose. And in fact, we're not even able to use it for the purpose in which we have used it for very many years, which is to determine people's eligibility for community housing from council. So it seems to us that it's a useful proxy for someone's eligibility for concessions, because government issues it on the basis of someone's income. However, we're unable to use it legally at the moment, and so the remit seeks to change that so that there would be a legal way in which councils could use community service card as a proxy for housing or any other service that we might want to offer at a reduced rate. So that's the idea of the remit, and you know it's come from our own experience here, and we're hoping that other councils will support it. So I'd appreciate your support. Thank you. I'm happy to answer any questions if there are any.
I don't think there are any questions, and we'll look to move those both together because I think we'll be the same. So, Councillor, if you can. Councillor Fitzgerald.
Tēnā koe, Mr Mayor. Koutou Karakurau Rangatira, to all my esteemed city leaders around the council table and officers. It gives me great honour and privilege to present this remit on behalf of all the elected Māori ward councillors for the Horizons region. We met on the 23rd of February down in Foxton. Funnily enough, it was on the back of the Coalition Government's 100-day plan, which includes the reverting back to Māori ward seats being subject to referendum. So our remit is stated, I'll take it that the remit has been read, but if I could just clarify. No, it's already done. So thank you very much for that. And just wanted to add to the remit a piece that our current President, Sam Broughton, said in an article with Radio New Zealand back in February 24. Councils are attacking the government's proposal to bring back local referenda for Māori wards. The former Labour government abolished them in 22, saying no other types of wards, such as rural wards, went to a vote. But the Coalition has agreed to restore the right to have a referendum, including requiring a vote on any ward set up without referendum at the next local elections. The President of Local Government New Zealand, Sam Broughton, said all wards should be treated the same and local decisions should be left up to council. I ask for your support in this remit, and thank you for your time.
Thank you, councillors. So we've got two recommendations there that the city seeks support. So I'm going to move that we seek support. So if you could cross out does not. From Zone 3 and other councils put forward attachment 1, the community services card to Local Government New Zealand 24 remit process, and 2, that Palmerston City Council seeks support from Zone 3 and other councils to put forward attachment 2, that LGNZ lobby central government to ensure that Māori wards and constituencies are treated the same as other wards and that they should not be subject to a referendum. So, and that'll go also to the Local Government New Zealand 2024 remit process. I'm happy to move that, seconded by Deputy Mayor. Thank you, councillors, for that and the paperwork that's in behind that. I think it's straightforward and it's part of our DNA and ethos here, so I hope you would support this. We will vote. Oh, okay. Okay, sorry, councillor, you jumped in at the 11th hour. Over to you.
Separately, which I know is a pain.
You want to take them separately? Okay, all right.
If that's all right.
Yep, that's fine. Councillor Johnson.
Well, I just wanted to offer words of support to Councillor Fitzgerald's remit. I think it carries a lot of passion and mana that's come from Maori elected councillors getting together and developing this. It's supported by the president of LGNZ. And I think, again, our own experience here speaks very strongly to the value of having Maori ward councillors around the table. And I would be very hopeful that we would be able to support this unanimously from our own experience of how valuable it's been to us as a council. So, thank you.
All right. Okay, we'll do the first one, which is around the community services card. So we'll do them separately and we'll vote for that one first, please. That has passed 15 votes for and none against. All right, we'll now go to the second one, which is around supporting Māori wards. And that has passed 14 votes for and 1 against. Thank you. All right, we'll now go to the council work schedule. It's on page 317 and of our papers. And I'll just see with the CE, nothing from you. No, I'm done. All right, I've got a recommendation to council that we receive the work schedule dated the 6th of March 2024. I'm happy to move that, seconded by Deputy Mayor. If there's no matters arising, we will, please. Oh, sorry, Councillor Nanoli, you've popped in.
Apologies. It was just a quick question around the first one, Nature Call Steering. That was terms of reference were adopted. There was a comment made recently in the chamber that that was being issues to do with nature calls was being looked at by that steering group, and I'm just wondering if the minutes of those meetings are able to be shared with elected members.
Yes, I believe they can be, and we had to get the group, including iwi's, consideration of those terms of reference before they come back to us. I think they are coming back to us, aren't they? Yep, they are. Councillor Harper.
So, sorry,
Yeah.
sorry, just to follow on from that. So, the meetings that have already happened, where that's
Yes.
been discussed, have there been meetings?
Yes, there's been 2.
Oh, so
Yep.
they can be shared.
Yes.
Lovely,
Yep.
thanks.
Councillor Harper.
Just very quickly, Mr Mayor, sorry for the interruption. Just the items that haven't been discussed today, will they go to the next council meeting?
We're just about finished the meeting, councillor, so we'll we'll get through the agenda.
Oh, okay.
Okay. All right. So we've got the recommendations of the work schedule. We'll look to vote on that, please. And that has passed 15 votes for and none against. Now, we just have a couple of recommendations from various committee meetings during February. We have two from the Economic Growth Committee recommendations of the 15th of February 2024 and the 28th of February 2024. And I'll go to the chair online, Councillor Harper, to speak to those.
We were just going to take them separately because there was a separate recommendation, wasn't there, Sarah? So for recommendation from the 6th of March, there was a separate recommendation. Have you got that up?
It's 15th of February, councillor, and then the 28th of February.
So the 15th of February, there was a separate recommendation, so she needed to put a new recommendation up.
Okay, we're just getting that up.
Sorry about this.
Okay, councillors, it's on page 321 of your papers. All right, so this is 9-24, where the addition of subject to no objection of 163 James Line. So, councillor, do you want to speak to those?
I don't want to speak to it, Mr. Mayor. It's really basically because of what has come about. So it's really, if you want to read it, Mr. Mayor, it's really hard to read it from here.
Sure. So we've got 4-24 around bus shelters at Pacific Drive, Fitzherbert, 5-24 around proposed bus shelter at Airport Drive, Milson, and 7-24 around proposed bus shelter at 17 Featherston Street, Takaro, 11-24 around Milson Line, Milson, 12-24 around 41 James Line, Kelvin Grove, 8-24 around 292 Ruahine Street, Terrace End, 9-24, which is the one in question, around 165 James Line, Kelvin Grove, 10-24 over 552 Ruahine Street, Hoka Fitu. And that's it. So are you happy to move those? Thank you. Seconded by the Deputy Chair, Councillor Wood. Nobody
And
else?
at the same time, do you want me to move the minutes of the meeting of the 28th, or do you want to do that separately?
We can do that as well. Thank you.
So I'll move those minutes of the 28th of February 2024.
Thank you. And seconded by the Deputy Chair. Yes, I can see him waving. Thank you. And this is around 16-24 Pioneer Highway signalised dual crossing, and 19-24 around the proposed bus shelter 85 Ambley Ave and Clark Ave update. All right. So moved by Councillor Harper, seconded by Councillor Wood. There no further commentary. We will vote on this together, please. Okay, that's passed. 13 votes for, 1 abstention. Thank you. All right, our other recommendation from committee meetings during the month is around our Strategic and Finance Committee of the 21st of February, and I'll go to Councillor Dennison, the Chair.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Just would like to, as Chair, move the recommendations for adoption of the Strategy and Finance Committee meeting, Part 1, public, held on the 21st of February. Thank you.
Thank you, and we seconded by Councillor Johnson. Sorry. Momentary lapse there. Been a long day. All right. Thank you, councillors. Is it no commentary? We will look to please. And that has passed 14 votes for and 1 against. All right, we've got a quick item in confidential, so we are looking to exclude the public and go into part 2. And for matters around commercial sensitivity, and I'll now ask that we just prepare the room to go through that. Oh, sorry, I'll look to move that. Seconded by the... I'll look to move that. Seconded by the Deputy Mayor. Thank you. We will vote, please. It's passed 15 votes for, none against. All right, just give us a couple of minutes just to prep the room and those online.